We back with another one. YSL, Young Thug YSL Rico Trial Day 146. We in the buildings, ACO 315. You already know we live. That's how we get it. And you already know I gotta go to work, but I make sure that we tap in with the stream. Tap in with the stream.
Your Honor,
Appreciate y'all.
I sent over the order to Ms. Percival. I'm about to forward it to everyone, but I just wanted to get it to you as soon as possible.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, I gotta slide. But I appreciate y'all for tapping in. So what Lisa do 305, you know the trials have started, so we in the building. I'll let y'all later.
It's going to take me a minute to read it all. part of this ruling.
I think if you look at the bottom of page 12,
Okay.
court's opinion, Your Honor, I think is where there's some discussion how it goes into.
All right, thanks.
Your Honor, last paragraph of page 12, maybe about 3 lines before the end
All right.
of the page, going on to page 13, and then I'm looking for more
Okay, I
conditional.
was looking down at the rulings part. Y'all could have maybe given me a heads up yesterday. I could have read this last night. Since we knew we would have Dennis on the stand this morning.
There's a bit more information on it. It's on the bottom of page 12.
That is that if there's a foundation objection or a 403 objection, I'll rule on it at that point in time when the objection's made.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Does the state want to be heard about it beyond that? Okay. All right, are we ready to get the jury in? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you want to go ahead and have, is it, I guess it's just Mr. Dennis at this point, former investigator Dennis? Okay.
Retired detective, Your Honor.
Retired Detective Dennis, okay. Anyway, let's get the jury in. Morning. Did we swear you yesterday? I don't know if we ever got that far.
I was sworn in the other.
And that was about it? Oh, okay. All right, right. You've already, I'll just remind you, you're still under oath then. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Okay, retired Detective Dennis, I'll just remind you that you are still under oath. And Ms. Hilton, you can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Investigator Dennis. How are you?
Good morning.
When you were here previously, you testified about your involvement in the investigation of the shootings that occurred after the death of Donovan Thomas. Do you recall testifying to that?
Yes.
All right. And again, during that period in 2015, did you work with your partner, retired Sergeant Gaither, to assist in solving some of those shootings that occurred after the death of Donovan Thomas Jr.?
Yes.
As a member of the gang unit, when you first learned of the shootings that occurred after Donovan Thomas Jr. passed away, did the gang unit or yourself immediately begin investigating those cases as retaliatory shootings?
Yes.
How did the gang unit recognize or realize that some of these shootings were in retaliation of the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Usually it was based on the victims of the shooting.
Okay. In the first days between January 11th and January 19th, were there homes that were shot at that were either family members or friends of Kenneth Copeland?
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I believe the microphone may not be working. Not yours, Ms. Hilton.
The witness mic?
The witness mic.
You just
Thank you.
pull it closer to you.
No, it wasn't on.
Miss
I
Hilton.
didn't know I had to hit the button.
Thank you. Can y'all hear it all right now?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Where were those homes primarily situated?
Throughout the city. We had them popping up all throughout Atlanta.
Okay. Were there homes on Hendricks Avenue that were targeted in the days immediately following Donovan Thomas's murder?
Yes.
And the addresses that were associated with those homes was that 193 and 197 Hendricks Avenue.
Yes.
Also, was there a home of Mr. Copeland's sister, 878 Oakland Drive, that was targeted as well?
Yes.
How did the fact that homes that were of the family members of Kenneth Copeland factor at all in your investigation after the investigation of those shootings after Donovan Thompson's murder?
Your Honor, I'm going to object as irrelevant at this point unless more foundation is laid.
Overruled.
You may answer.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. The fact that the homes of Kenneth Copeland family members were targeted, how did that factor into your investigation as you began investigating these retaliatory shootings?
We basically would be notified by the patrol officer of the shooting. Usually they happened at night. And usually once they would give the name or they would provide us information indicating that it was a family member of.
Objection, confrontation clause.
Can you rephrase?
Sure. Without saying what any of the officers told you, just how did it factor into your investigation?
We basically gathered information as they came in, and pretty much every night we had a different shooting and we were tasked with investigating it.
Okay. Outside of Kenneth Copeland, did you learn of other homes of individuals that you all associated with YSL members, their family's home being shot or targeted?
Yes.
What was one of those addresses?
Ruby Harper.
Okay. And whose home did you identify that home belonging to?
A family member related to Mr. Williams.
And were you ever able to associate Mr. Williams with that home specifically?
Yes.
How did you do that?
I pulled his driver license picture.
You have permission to approach?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Stacy Exhibit 540 Yankee. Do you recognize 540 Yankee?
Yes.
And how do you recognize 540 Yankee?
It's Mr. Williams' driver license picture.
And is that, I'm sorry.
From 2015, I believe.
Okay. And is that what you pulled as a part of your investigation?
Yes.
And is that a fair and accurate copy of the license information that you pulled regarding Mr. Williams back in 2015?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to tender Stacy Exhibit 540Y into evidence.
I'd object to the admission of that evidence as hearsay.
Overruled, admitted.
Your Honor, understanding the court's ruling, there's some personal information on a driver's license. We'd like it redacted.
Okay.
And we're not going to publish, we're just going to ask him to cite the address, Your Honor. But we'll redact it for later.
Okay.
What is the address on Mr. Williams' license?
3424 Ruby H. Harper Boulevard, Southeast Atlanta, Georgia.
And was that the target of one of the shootings between January 11th and January 19th, 2015?
Yes.
Now, as these shootings came in, were you trying to identify potential suspects of those shootings?
Yes.
How did you go about doing that?
We would start with a police report. And with that police report, we would try to find whatever evidence we could with that, reaching out to the victims or witnesses, any car descriptions, suspect descriptions, and we would go from there. We would also reach out to our crime lab to see what shell casings was recovered. They would do what's called NIBIN, and NIBIN would tell us if it was related to a specific weapon or any other shooting incident that had occurred prior.
At any point in time, did you all go to social media in order to see if you can get any intel on what may be happening out in the community?
Yes.
Okay. Were there any particular social media pages that you all went to or that you saw that informed your investigation?
Yes.
What were some of those pages?
Immediately after the death of Donovan Thomas, there was a fake Instagram, I believe, page created death to snake N-words. And from that, it was almost like a play-by-play of what was going on, or those associated with Mr. Thomas. They basically were sending threats and telling what the...
Hearsay.
You're,
Overruled.
Best evidence rule then.
That's,
Evidence rule. Best evidence rule.
oh, sorry, best evidence. Do you have,
I do.
all right.
Did
Go
you,
ahead.
did you collect, or did you all collect some of those posts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Permission to approach?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 546Y. It's 546Y, one of those such posts that came from that death to snake N-words page.
Yes.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of one of the posts that you saw in the early days after Mr. Thompson was killed?
Yes.
This time the state would like to tender State's Exhibit 546Y into evidence.
Object to any hearsay in it. It's being used for the truth of the matter.
Your Honor, we're not offering any of the words in there for the truth of the matter, sir, but just to illustrate that that was the post that was given, or that was posted on social media.
I'll object to any of the words on the page except for the post.
But
The death to snakes, if that's what the prosecutor's getting at. But any statement is being used for the truth of the matter asserted. I object.
Your Honor, may we approach, I think it might be on longer.
Step back. Right?
Okay, and that's for, sorry, 546Y?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and so that's admitted subject to what we discussed up here.
Okay. And let me ask you this, Detective Dennis. The post that you were seeing on this Death to Snake N-words page, did they have threats on those pages?
Yes.
All right. And were those threats directed at anyone?
Yes.
Who?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Kenneth Copeland, Woody.
Okay. Permission to publish the version that we discussed, Your Honor?
The first one,
Yes.
you may.
Now, as a part of your investigation, and court's indulgence for a moment. As a part of your investigation, did an individual by the name of Rayshawn Bennett come up as a part of your investigation?
Yes.
How did he come up as a part of your investigation?
At one point, his mother's house was shot up twice.
And when, as you were investigating the case, did you ever speak with Quindarius Zachary about anything that could have happened at those two homes?
Yes.
And did you know anything about those shootings prior to speaking to Mr. Zachary?
Yes.
What information did you have about those two shootings as a part of your investigation prior to speaking with Mr. Zachary?
That could be hearsay. I don't know. It's a broad question, so I'm going to preliminary object to hearsay and confrontation clause,
Okay.
unless it is narrow.
Overruled.
The weapon that Mr. Zachary was caught with in May of 2015 was nibed back to the second shooting of Rayshawn Bennett's mother's house where she was shot.
In the first shooting of Mrs. Bennett's home, were you familiar with Kelvin Watts?
Yes.
What about Jamal Baines?
Yes.
And what about Jermaine Hardiman?
Yes.
How were you familiar with those three individuals?
They were arrested the day of that shooting.
Okay. And were those three individuals associated with any gangs?
They were associated with If Gang.
At the time, was Mr. Bennett associated with any gangs?
If Gang.
Now, I want to take you to some shootings that occurred on January 26th. Do you recall any shootings as a part of your investigation regarding this kind of gang war that occurred on January 26th of 2015?
Yes.
Right. To your knowledge, how many shootings occurred on January 26, 2015?
Several.
Okay. Were you familiar with, as a part of your investigation, Mr. Copeland being shot on the highway on January 26, 2015?
Yes.
And do you remember if that case number was 15-026-0124?
I don't remember the case number off the top of my head.
No problem. Also on that same day was Lucci Mama's house shot on 1/26/2015.
Yes.
And then on that same day was Trevante Turner shot on 1/26/2015.
Yes.
And Trevante Turner back in 2015, did he associate with YSL?
Yes.
And the shooting of Trevante Turner, was that on 198 Stanhope?
Yes.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to give you 3 APD case numbers. I want you to tell the jury which would be first, second, and third in the day, okay?
Okay.
15-026-0124, 15-026-2672, 15-026-2801. Which one would have been the earliest in the day?
The one with the 0. Basically, our case numbers are broken down by the Julian date. The Julian date, January 1st, will be 001 and so forth and so on until 365 days. When they come into our 911 dispatch, whatever number that is in the course of the day of incidents, that's what the number is. And so based on those case numbers, the first number would have been first and second and third based on the case number, how they came in.
Okay. So would 0124 been the first for that day?
Yes.
Then 2672?
Yes.
And then 2801?
Correct.
And would 2672 and 2801, depending on the activity of that day, be pretty close in time to each other?
That's correct. And it basically resets at midnight. So, for example, if something, like today was the 16th, if an incident happened overnight on the 15th at midnight, it would become the 16th, even though it's pretty much close in proximity, it's the same time.
On January 28th, 2015, did you ever interview a woman by the name of Antrevia Smith?
Yes.
And what was your reason for interviewing with Ms. Smith?
Her apartment was shot up on Springdale Road.
And did that shooting happen on January 28th, 2015?
Yes.
And was that 2 days after the last incident we just discussed?
Yes.
And based on your investigation, do you know if she was the target of that shooting?
That would be hearsay and confrontation clause.
Overruled.
Her residence was the target. I don't think necessarily her, but her residence was.
And based on your investigation, were you aware of anyone else staying at her residence during this time period?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Based on our interview of her, she explained that
That would be confrontation clause.
That would also be impeachment.
Sustained.
Your Honor, Ms. Smith testified and denied who was in her home.
So prior
inconsistent statement.
Okay, overruled.
Mr. Watts was at her home during the shooting.
And did she tell you that Mr. Watts was there at the time during the shooting?
Yes.
And did she provide you during your interview with her a video that she thought that you should have?
Yes.
And what was that video?
Her neighbor had a camera set up in the window pointing outward, so it basically captured the drive-by shooting.
Did she provide you any other videos?
She provided us a video of Mr. Sledge, Montunk, and Quindarius Zachary basically taunting Mr. Watts and their rivals.
And I want to show you what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 441Y. It should come up on your screen. provided to you after she told you that Mr. Watts was in her home when her home was shot up?
Yes.
Now, after that, in February 2015, did you, as a part of your investigation, learn of a shooting involving Mr. Watts where he was shot?
Yes.
And then on that same day, on February 10, 2015, did you learn of 193 Hendricks Avenue being shot at again after Mr. Watts was shot?
Yes. Hendricks was basically, after most incidents, they would go shoot up Hendricks almost as a retaliation immediately or sometime thereafter.
And as a part of your investigation, who resided on Hendricks?
I believe Kenny Boo.
And do you know what, if any, relationship that did Kenny Boo have with Mr. Copeland or his family?
I don't.
Okay. Then, as a part of your investigation, did you also look into the shooting that occurred on February 19, 2015, the shooting involving Mr. Copeland, his child, and his child's mother?
Yes.
Right. And do you recall if anyone was arrested for that particular shooting?
4 IF gang members were arrested for that shooting.
Sitting here today, do you remember who the 4 IF gang members were?
Octavius Franklin, Josiah Johnson, Bobby Hardy.
All right. Slow it again.
Octavius Franklin, common spelling. Josiah Johnson, Bobby Hardy, and Josiah Johnson.
I think you said Josiah Johnson twice.
I could be missing one.
Okay.
Franklin Johnson, Fleetwood, Dalviante Fleetwood. Is that 4? I'm sorry.
Now, did there ever come a point in between January and February, that some of the shootings, I'm going to say for lack of a better term, died down in the earlier parts of 2015?
Repeat that?
Sure. I'm going to ask between January and June, so I'll ask a different question. Between January and June of 2015, did there ever come a period of time where the shootings slowed down between January and June?
March.
And to your knowledge, do you know if in March of 2015, Mr. Williams was on tour?
I was told of that, but yes.
And to your knowledge, do you know if any of the YSL members were on tour with Mr. Williams during that time?
I'm going to object to any hearsay.
Overruled.
To your knowledge, do you know if any other YSL members were on tour with Mr. Williams during that time?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know who?
Not everybody, no.
Do you know some?
Yes.
Who?
Mr. Kendricks, Mr. Zachary, Mr. Stilwell Jackson.
Do you know if Mr. Copeland was on tour with them during that time?
I'm not sure.
Now I want to take you to April 2nd of 2015. Was there a homicide that occurred on April 2nd, 2015 that was a part of your investigation?
Yes.
Okay. Who was the victim in that homicide?
Mr. Rivers.
Okay. And based on your investigation and working up these shootings, do you know if he was a member of a gang?
He was documented as a 30 deep gang member.
Objection, confrontation clause.
Overruled.
And I believe previously you talked about the relationship between 30 Deep and YSL.
Correct.
Correct? Now, as a part of your investigation, did you ever learn of a residence at 35 Oak Drive?
35 Oak, yes.
Okay. And based on your investigation, who resided or frequented that location?
Kelvin Treadwell, Mr. Williams.
Now, take you to April 12th of 2015. Did you, Sergeant Gaither, investigate the shooting of Dexter Montgomery?
Yes.
And during the course of that investigation, did you also meet with Walter Murphy?
Yes.
And when you met with Walter Murphy, did he talk to you about?
May we approach?
Yes.
Slow down. Sorry. Let me ask you this. Did that address at Oak Drive have any significance to you as you began investigating all the retaliatory shootings from 2015?
Yes.
What was that significance?
In investigating the Dexter Montgomery shooting, it was told to us that that's
Sustained. Sustained.
Let me ask you this. When you, without saying what anybody said, why was it significant?
During our investigation, we learned that was where the suspects
Same objection.
Sustained.
Were you part of the interview with Quindarius Zachary?
Yes.
And in your interview with Quindarius Zachary, did he talk about where the guns in the car was taken after the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Yes.
Okay. Where was that location?
Oak Drive, or whatever it is.
And was that your understanding of Calvin Treadwell's home?
Yes.
All right. And is that the same location that became relevant as a part of the Dexter Montgomery shooting?
Yes.
And with the Dexter Montgomery shooting, was there a suspect and later someone arrested by the name of Demise McMullen?
Yes, Nard.
Okay. And did that same name come up as a part of the Donovan Thomas murder investigation?
Yes.
Sorry, I need to stay by the mic. And in both the Dexter Montgomery shooting and the Donovan Thomas murder, was Mr. Nard suspected to be a shooter?
Yes.
Now, when you met with Mr. Zachary, was that in August of 2015?
Yes.
And during that meeting with him, did you speak with him about the Lil Wayne bus shooting?
Yes.
And at the time, was he able to provide you information about the Lil Wayne bus shooting?
Yes.
And was Mr. Zachary one of the people that you saw that night at the compound back in April of 2015?
Objection asked and answered previously.
Sustained.
Now, the Lil Wayne bus shooting happened on April 26, 2015?
Yes.
Right. 2 days after that, on April 28, 2015, was there a series of shootings that occurred?
Yes.
Okay. What were the series of shootings that you investigated as a part of your investigation with this retaliatory shootings on April 28, 2015?
The 1428 Adele, 1903 Drew, and the Landrum Drive shooting.
Okay. Was there an incident at Club Crucial on that day as well?
Yes.
And as a part of your investigation, what occurred at Club Crucial?
Demiki and Garlington got jumped inside.
And based on your investigation, is Demekion Garlington associate or a member of YSL?
Yes.
Right. Did you investigate, you said you don't remember case numbers.
No.
Let me ask you about a series of numbers again. 15-118-0288.
Okay.
15-118-0462.
Okay.
15-118-0531. And 15-118-0588.
Okay.
Would the 0288 be the first incident of that sequence?
Yes. If I can, I don't know if you write it down or something.
That's a lot of numbers to keep in your head. Here's a pad. Excuse my
Oh, that 8 was.
Okay, so with 15-118-0288, 15-118-0462, 15-118-0531, 15-118-0588. Is this the order that they would have occurred in that day?
Yes.
So this would have been first, second, third, and fourth.
Correct.
Of course, it goes for one. We're gonna come back to that chart in 1 second. When you met with Quindarius Daiquiri, was he able to identify people that he told you were involved in the murder of Donovan Thomas?
Yes.
And did you show him pictures to confirm who he was speaking of when you talked to him?
Yes.
Permission to approach you, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as 542Y or 542 Yankee Alpha through Yankee J. Look through those and tell me if you recognize all of those images.
Colonel, while he's looking, can we approach this?
Yes.
And let me ask a more specific question. As far as the shooting of Donovan Thomas, who did Mr. Zachary say was, and let me get more specific, those who actually were a part of the drive-by shooting?
Diamante Kendricks, a.k.a. Yak, Demise McMullen, a.k.a. Nard, Justin Cobb, a.k.a. Doo-Wop, and Shannon Stillwell Jackson, a.k.a. SB.
And it's 542YA, 542YF, 542YD, and 542YB, the images that you showed him to confirm those individuals.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, state would like to admit 542YA, YA, YB, YD, and YF.
All right, those are admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
Looking at 542YA, who did Mr. Zachary identify that as?
Diamante Kendricks,
Okay. 542YB,
Demise McMullen,
542YF,
Shannon Stillwell Jackson,
542YD.
Justin Cobb,
And did he have a nickname?
Doo-wop.
Thank you. Now, during during your meeting with him, did you just have him also identify other individuals that he knew as part of YSL?
Yes.
All right. Now showing you 542YE, 542YC, 542YG, YH, and YI. Tell me if those are the other pictures that you showed him during that interview.
Yes, they are.
And are those fair and accurate depictions of the picture that you showed him during his August interview?
Yes.
At this time, the state would like to admit State's Exhibit 542YE, 542YC, 542YG, 542YH, and 542YI into evidence.
No objection on behalf of Mr. Wood.
All right, that's your admitted.
And permission to publish, Your Honor.
You may.
First, looking at 542YC, who did Mr. Zachary identify that as?
Jeffrey Young Thug Williams.
Okay, and that the same individual? Is that the same picture that was on his driver's license?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 1JJ.
Or Club Crucial.
Now I'm going to also show you now what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 4KK. Admitted as 2LL. Oh, sorry, 1LL. And let me ask you, was 1903 Drew Drive one of the addresses that was significant as a part of your investigation?
Yes.
What was the significance of 1903 Drew Drive?
It was the home of Philip Collins, a.k.a. Philo, who's associated with If Gang and Haiti Gang.
And what about 1428 Adele Avenue? What, if any, significance did 1428 Adele Avenue have in your investigation?
That was the home of Darren Mills, Philo's brother.
Now, on April 28th, did you learn of another shooting that happened at 2900 Landrum?
Yes.
And who was staying there at that time based on your investigation?
Trevante Turner's girlfriend.
And to your knowledge here, do you know when in the line of events that shooting occurred?
It's going to be either 3 or 4.
Either the 3 or the 4, okay. You said that was where Trevante Turner's girlfriend lived?
Yes.
Is that the same Trevante Turner that was shot in January on Stanhope?
Yes.
And Club Crucial, that's where Demekion got beat up?
Yes.
And did you say earlier jumped on by If Gang members?
Yes.
And was Demekion a YSL member?
Yes.
And so after Demekion gets beat up, then you have the call for the shooting at Adele?
Yes.
That's an answer, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Is Darren Mills an If Gang member?
Yes.
Then after this shooting, do you get the call for the Landrum?
Yes.
And Trevante is associated with YSL?
Yes.
And then after the shooting at Landrum, then you get the call for the 1903 Drew.
Yes.
And Philo, what gangs he associated with?
If Gang.
Was that the definition of the type of retaliatory shootings you were getting in 2015?
Yes.
And was that the nature of the back and forth from January of 2015 to about September, October of 2015?
Yes.
And as law enforcement, were you investigating both sides of this war that was going back and forth?
Yes.
Were you only targeting YSL?
No.
Were you only targeting If Gang?
We targeted gang members and violence.
Okay. Now, did there come a time in October of 2015 that you had the occasion to interview Mr. Diamante Kendrick?
Yes.
Do you recall when you interviewed Mr. Kendrick?
I don't know the exact date, but it was a short time after he was arrested.
Okay. And what was he arrested for?
Martinez Arnold, a.k.a. Duke, was jumped in Magic City Strip Club. We were made aware of it, and we were able to obtain video of the actual assault. A short time after the assault, Mr. Kendricks and Mr. Arnold went to retaliate at Trestle Tree, which is a known hangout for Mr. Kelvin Watts and other If Gang members. When they arrived at the location, there was police already out there. And when they attempted to speed off or whatever, they got into a chase, subsequently crashing and subsequently being arrested.
Okay. And were there guns inside the vehicle when they were arrested?
Yes.
Now, as a part of your investigation, did you go and try to pull or see if there was an actual fight at Magic City?
Yes.
And have you had an opportunity to review that video in preparation for your testimony today?
Yes.
Your Honor, may we approach?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to view a video and the fight that or whatever it is that the witnesses testifying about occurred at a place that is a strip club. And so while that is not why the video is being shown, you're going to see some images that are things one might see at a strip club. So be prepared.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as the joys of the trial, 543Y. Is that a copy of that video that you pulled as a part of your investigation?
Yes.
You know, and this time say like a tender and admit and publish statement with 543Y.
All right, I'm sorry, 543Y, that's admitted, you may.
Hey, give me a tissue. Yeah. Okay.
Just orient the jury where they need to be looking to see the fight on in the video.
In this first video, you're going to see an individual walk right to here. Mr. Arnold is right there, and the video will pretty much do it.
43Y Yankee 1 for the record. Now publishing 543 Yankee 2.
Shall be the same, but just a different angle. This is going to fight. It's going to begin, and then this is where it's going to spill over into.
Are they still fighting?
They are still fighting.
Okay. One minute and 28 seconds. Now, when you spoke with Mr. Kendrick about this incident, was he read his, you said he was arrested, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was he read his Miranda warnings?
Yes.
When you met with Mr. Kendrick, who all was in the room with you when you met with Mr. Kendrick?
Detective Thorpe, Sergeant Gaither, and myself.
All right. And when you went to go speak with him, did he agree to speak with you all?
Yes.
Okay. Did he appear to have any learning disability?
No.
Did he appear to be intoxicated or otherwise incapacitated?
No.
Did he appear to be sick?
No.
Where did you all interview Mr. Kendrick?
Atlanta Police Headquarters.
Court's indulgence.
Yes.
Yeah. If this line of questioning is going to continue, can we have that same limiting instruction that you gave yesterday?
Yes, and in fact, let's go ahead and take our morning break. I just want to adjust it to be specific to this. So y'all can go ahead and we'll take our recess as well. limiting instruction and make sure nobody has any issue with it. So the first paragraph that's kind of general would be the same, and then I would say in the next part of the testimony of this witness, you're going to hear about a statement made by defendant Diamante Kendrick. You may consider that statement only against Mr. Kendrick and only as to count 1. You may not consider this statement as to any other count, and you may not consider it in any way in determining the guilt or innocence of any other defendant in this case besides Mr. Kendrick. Anything else y'all want?
Your Honor,
Yes.
we just want to renew our objection on the admissibility of
Understood.
the, thank you.
And Your Honor, on behalf of Mr. Stillwell, of course, I joined Ms. Westmoreland, but additionally, I have a question. In the statement, there was certain things that we've already established are not admissible, like Mr. Kendrick, I don't want to mischaracterize what Mr. Kendrick said, but there was some speculation, or I heard that so-and-so were involved with other incidents, and we've all agreed that that would not be proper to come in. I just want to make sure that Investigator Dennis is
that as well.
clear on all that.
And for clarification, are y'all playing the statement excerpts? You're just asking him about things. And have you made sure that he knows what not to get into?
I did, but I will
Remind him? Okay, great. All right, why don't you do that real fast?
And Your Honor, I'm going to go back to something first.
Okay.
And then, so I'll let you
All right,
know
so
when
give
I'm
me
ready.
sounds good.
Yes.
All right. And then as soon as he gets back, we'll get the jury in.